What up? This is Dart Adams from Dart Adams Living Room. Again, June is Black Music Month. But what I'm doing right now is trying to explain certain things when it comes to rap music, the rap music space, questions people don't quite understand, and these old narratives that keep repeating ad nauseum. There are fucking answers. Let me give them to you. One of the questions is always that keeps coming back and has for like the past probably 5 years is about adult contemporary rap. It's not necessary. I keep telling people this. If you go back and look at charts from the 80s into the 90s, you're gonna find the Commodores. You're gonna find Patti LaBelle. You're gonna find Nancy Wilson. You're gonna find all these established acts on the same charts as young people. The Boys are on the same chart as the fucking Commodores. Okay? The Temptations and the Four Tops are up there with New Edition and Guy. The OJs are on the same chart as like Today. You know, the contemporary R&B New Jack Swing groups of the time. It's okay. It's fine. In black music, you can be in different age ranges. And also, we need to stop putting so much importance on charts in modern eras. They don't fucking matter anymore. Back in the days when everybody's trying to get on black radio, and there are only certain outlets to go to, when you're going to Soul Train, when you're going to American Bandstand, when you're trying to get on Solid Gold, these things don't exist anymore. When you're trying to get on BET or MTV, these things don't exist anymore. They don't matter anymore. There's Bandcamp and SoundCloud and just straight to DSP's distribution. The rollout isn't what it used to be. If you make traditional R&B or you make adult R&B, why are you concerned about the charts and where it's positioned? The people who want your shit know where to go to get it. And they know they're not listening to the stuff over here. You're not competing for space. You're in different areas. You're in different universes. Why does it matter? Okay, now that that's out the way, let's talk about something else. The idea of ageism in rap music. Now, you want to talk about the idea of ageism in hip hop. There's a reason why it existed. Because back in the days when there was a new thing, when this was a new culture, when it was just growing, when it had been around for years, and nobody could see what could happen in the future. And the idea of a career didn't exist. This is very important. The idea of a career didn't exist. The idea of corporate involvement didn't exist. When it was just a domain of independent labels. When there wasn't a disgusting amount of money involved. When you were an MC, you might take home $40, $50, $60 from that night, which is a lot of money for a teenager in 1979, 1980, and 1981, mind you. Use the inflation calculator to figure out what that means. And you're coming home with that kind of money off one show. But sometimes you got to kick down money to maintain the sound system. And maybe the people who came with you in the clique, like the security people, made more than that just selling weed or selling dust or what have you, or doing illegal activities at the function. And the DJ made way more than you because they're the person with the big name on the flyer. This is also important. When all this is happening, why is there ageism? Well, for one thing, your career began as an MC between 1977 and let's say 1980, on average between the ages of 16 and 19. All right? Rap as we know it started like 77. Is a recorded medium by 79. Okay? Hits the mainstream between 1979 and 1980 between Rapper's Delight and Curtis Blow's Christmas Rapping. By 1981, Blondie has Rapture out. By 1981, The Clash's Magnificent Seven. By 1981, we got Mel Brooks doing It's Good to Be the King. By 1981, we have the first late night TV segment dedicated to hip hop culture on ABC 2020, July 9th, 1981. 1981 is when Funky 4 Plus One More on Valentine's Day perform on SNL late night. 1981. So we go from 1979 to 1981. People are like, that's when rap crossed over. That's when rap been mainstream. It's been mainstream since between 80 and 81. Shut the fuck up. Now let's talk about the main conversation here. Ageism. How come people look at rappers like they're out, they too old and all this other stuff? When you think about hip hop culture and the fact that we had multiple generations of B-boys already by the time we get to the Rocksteady crew and the New York Breakers, 81, 82. There have been multiple generations of B-boys. 1977 was a whole nother wave of B-boys when you start with the new Rocksteady crew. They go to the original members of Rocksteady crew and say, do we have your permission to use the name? The reason why we have a Melly Mel and the Kid Creoles, because they were dancers for Grandmaster Flash. And when the new wave of B-boys came in, they said, we got to do some other shit. And that's when they started rapping. Seriously, 1977. So I need to break this down all the way. I already told you that between 1977 and like 1979, 80, the average age of an MC career beginning is ages 16 and 19. All right? Now, let's jump to 1980. Let's say that the top MCs, right? We got Grandmaster Melly Mel, Grandmaster Caz, Kumo D, Curtis Blow, and Spoonie G. That's 5. 1980. The most recognizable top MCs, people with records out. Right? People that people know. 1980. Let's think about 1980. In 1980, I think Melly Mel turns 19, Kumo D turns 18, Grandmaster Caz turns 20, Curtis Blow turns 21, and Spoonie G turns 17 in 1980. I'll repeat that. Melly Mel turns 19, Kumo D turns 18, Grandmaster Caz turns 20, Curtis Blow turns 21, Spoonie G turns 17 in 1980. Now, these guys had no idea what was going to happen in 1985 or in 1990 because there was no precedent for what was going to come. They had no idea what was going to happen in 81, 82, 83, 84. They had no idea about the rap movies that were going to come out in 83. Breaking and Entering, Wild Style, Style Wars. They had no idea in 84 Hollywood would release Breakin', Beat Street, Breakin' 2, and then I think Body Rock. And then in 85, the TV show The Pilot comes out. So, and then you're going to be watching commercials, like the Hershey's commercial, and you're going to be seeing all this stuff, and you're going to be seeing like the 84 Olympics. They have no idea this is going to happen. They have no idea that the Fresh Fest is going to happen. Okay? So the idea of a career doesn't exist. The idea of making an LP, first it's just making a record and getting screwed. The idea of making an album is out of there. So if you're a teenager around this time, you have no idea in your mind of a 30-year-old rapper. Okay? And these were the 5 leading MCs in 1980. Now let's jump ahead. In 86, this is when we're introduced to Rakim and Cool G Rap. 87, we're introduced to, and also KRS-One. In 87, we're introduced to like Big Daddy Kane. All right? And LL Cool J has already been around since 1984, right? So let's think about that new wave of people that put a lot of the old and new school MCs out the pasture by 87, going into 88 during this new golden era we talked about previously, right? So let's think about that. Top 5 MCs on the same par as the ones I mentioned in 1980, just fast forward to 1987. Let's think of, so Karis won 86, Cool G Rap 86, Rakim 86, Big Daddy Kane 87, LL was already around, all right? 1987, LL turns 19. Rakim turns 19. Cool G Rap turns 19. Big Daddy Kane turns 19. KRS One turns 22. I repeat, 1987, LL turns 19, Rakim turns 19, Cool G Rap turns 19, Big Daddy Kane turns 19, KRS One turns 22 in 1987. These are the guys that are sending people out the door. What do I mean by that? The king of rap between 1980 and 1985 is without a doubt, indisputably, this is a fact of life, Kurtis Blow. What was Kurtis Blow's age between 1980 and 1985? He goes from 21 to 26. Kurtis Blow visits American Bandstand and he talks to Dick Clark. He talks about being an old man in rap. And Dick Clark laughs at him. He's like, what are you, like 25, 26? You're talking like you're an old man. Matter of factly, Kurtis Blow turns to Dick Clark and says, I'm producing guys that are 15 and 16. He's talking about the Fat Boys. He's already being pushed out the door. He's already being put on an ice floe and shoved out and let the undertow carry him and take him out. He's a grandpa. Because styles had changed so much, production had changed so much in rap between 86, 87, 88, that when Kurtis Blow puts out his final record of his run, and he's the first guy to put out second, third, fourth, fifth albums in rap, all right? He's 29. He's 29, 88. It's over. So in their minds, being a 30-year-old rapper is not a thing. Now, earlier I talked about Kool Moe Dee, right? When Kool Moe Dee is beefing with LL Cool J, right? Let's say about Jack the Ripper. That's 88, right? LL's 20, Kool Moe Dee's 26 at this time, all right? There's a 6-year gap between them. Now, are you familiar with the song To the Break of Dawn? Okay? To the break of dawn, I said keep on. To the break of dawn. LL Cool J goes at, what is a panther? An animal that kills. He goes at, I believe, Ice-T, Kool Moe Dee, and MC Hammer on the same record. LL Cool J's 22. He turns 22 in 1990. Kool Moe Dee's 28 in 1990. MC Hammer's 28 in 1990. Ice-T was 32. Okay? So the idea of being an MC past 30 did not exist. And the MCs that did turn 30 didn't tell anybody because they wanted to avoid that stigma. All right? Ice-T turns 30 in 1988. Chuck D turns 30 in 1990. Guru from Gang Starr turns 30 in 1991. They never mention their age. They're still making great music. They're still relevant, which is a term I hate, but you have to understand why these type of things exist. And they're just making their music and they're existing without ever talking about their age during this space, during this time, right? Because it's not important. But the idea that a 30-year-old could be an MC didn't exist because nobody past that age had thrived. Why I brought that up when I said that Kool Moe Dee at the time he was battling LL, right there he was 28. By the time we get to 1991, he puts out Funky Funky Wisdom, his career begins declining. By the time he puts out Death Blow, nobody cares. Because LL Cool J already put out Mama Said Knock You Out, already won the Grammys, already made a bunch of, nobody cares. It's over. The battle's over. LL won. All right? That's when Kool Moe Dee turns 30. So in people's heads, like MC Hammer in 1992, who the fuck was thinking about Hammer in 92? Nobody. He was already a joke. He was already this. He comes back in 94, but nobody really knew how old Hammer was. With Pumps and a Bump and It's All Good, he had 2 hits at the same time. But like nobody's really thinking about that. It's like not like they regard him as like a great lyricist or MC. He's an entertainer guy, right? So they don't really care. So this is why, because we have a whole genre that's based on battling, competition, and old school, new school, next school, and then after that, nobody talked about schools anymore. When we got to that first golden era and then the second golden era and all that, right? And people, when it starts over, people are so young. You have to understand that Rakim turns 19 in 1987. So that means he doesn't turn 30 until 1998. Kool G Rap turned 19 in 1987. He doesn't turn 30 until 1998. Big Daddy Kane turns 19. He doesn't turn 30 until 1998. This is the same year Jay-Z turns 30, 1998. LL Cool J doesn't turn 30 until 1998. You have to be able to still be around for that 11 years for it to even matter. People came and went. Did their 3 albums were out? Did the 3 albums were out? Let's put it this way. I'm going to end with this. I need you to understand something. Run DMC started their career in 1983. In 1993, they put out an album, Down with the King. And there's a intro on there, interlude. It's called For 10 Years. They're talking about being around in rap for 10 years as if it's 25. Because it is 25. They've been around from 1983 to 1993, and they had a hit album in 1993. That was an unprecedented thing for rap, the genre at the time. You need to understand that. And also, none of them were 30 yet. On Down with the King, you see the video, all these people showed up for the video because they grew up on Run DMC. They're paying homage to Run DMC. As if they're the goddamn Temptations of the Four Tops. Okay? Think about that. Motown 25. This is the rap equivalent of Motown 25. All these people came out to pay reverence to Run DMC because you're the reason I rap. You're the reason I even realized, I can do this as a career. 10 years. 83 to 93. So you need to think about that when you think about the idea of why is rap this thing where people feel like you can only be this age. Because it wasn't until the early 90s. It wasn't until the late 90s and early zeros where you had MCs who were outwardly saying, I'm 30 and above, and I'm still making viable music. Because before that, it wasn't a thing. Then what happens is you get people who are 40 and above and still making viable music. This is a young fucking genre of music. So when you have a bunch of people who are 40 making classic albums, that's new to an audience of people who didn't come in until recently and never listened to the albums that happened before. And I'm going to end with this, and this is going to go over 20 minutes. I'm so fucking pissed off at it. Why don't these kids know anything about the music that came out before then? It's by design. I need you to understand this. Rock music, the white music establishment, doesn't have to worry about, what word did I use before? Relevance. Why is that? Because they've always provided protections for their artists and their music. What do I mean by that? There was this thing called the hit parade. Years after the hit parade goes and they change it to something else, what do we do with all this music from the hit parade? We're not going to forget it, because what we're going to do is we're going to change the name and we're going to give it another title. So it's called oldies but goodies. So you don't toss out all those songs from the hit parade. They become standards. So what do? We have radio serials and radio shows. We're going to play these songs. Also, we make cartoons. And we're going to put those old songs from the hit parade in the cartoons. And then when we do something, a program or something, we're going to bring up these old songs from the hit parade. So they never leave people's conscious, even with the new shit that's out in the 50s. All right? Then when we keep going, they add more songs to the oldies but goodies, but call them oldies. Right? Then what happens later on is we get this idea in the 60s and 70s when I was talking about the LP era and everything else. So this idea is created. It's like, oh, we're going to come up with this thing called classic rock. This idea of classic rock. So all these songs, all these artists, all these albums, they stay in the conscious because they dedicate whole radio shows, whole radio station formats to classic rock. So you turn on the radio, you're going to hear your oldies but goodies. You're going to hear the swing music. You're going to hear this, and you're going to hear the classic rock. And what you do with the classic rock, you make sure it's in films. You make sure it's on television. You make sure that you have people who specialize in making compilations of it. You put it in all the TV shows so it never leaves. So when you're watching, you don't even realize you're watching a TV show or a movie, and you know all these songs from the 50s and 60s because they keep bringing them back. So they're never irrelevant. When you're a kid, you don't even realize, Lord, I was born a rambling man. The ink is black, the page is white. I've been on the desert on a horse with no name. That's by fucking design. When you watch a show like Family Ties and the parents are singing songs from Peter, John, and Mary and Bob Dylan, Big Brother and the Holding Company, Simon and Garfunkel, it's by design. So you always know these songs even if you weren't around for them. And then when Hollywood makes movies, what do? They make movies that are nostalgic for the 50s and the 60s. And the soundtrack is all these songs. When does black music ever get that protection? It happened in 3 separate occasions. 1, jazz. Jazz got the valuation of being classic music in terms of black music from the white mainstream. So you'll hear old jazz standards and jazz songs and things like that in film and television as well, right? And it's not a mistake. It's by design. Then the other thing is that what black music do we accept or do we like? So sometimes records are chess, right? Not really stacks, chess. So chess, we'll put chess in there because white folks who love rock or in the rock music establishment love blues. Okay, they love blues. So they're going to put this chess stuff in there. All right, and then the other part is that Motown. Motown was designed by Berry Gordy to be the sound of young America, not young black America, young America. It crossed over. So when you watch a movie like The Big Chill or The War, oh shit, it's a bunch of white folks on screen, but the music that is their coming of age music is Motown. So the whole soundtrack could be Motown because they love Motown. It's not Stax. It's not Philadelphia Soul from Philadelphia International. It's Motown, right? And then you think of movies like Stand By Me. Ain't another black person in the whole movie, but the main song of the thing is Benny King's Stand By Me. And then they made a video for it with Benny King in it and then the guys from the cast in it. So their entire white existence is soundtracked by this black man's song. But have you seen any movies from people that look like us that take rap and do the same thing that they did with Almost Famous? I have not seen a movie with a scene where a big sister or a big brother has all their rap tapes underneath the bed and the kid pulls out all these tapes from the 80s and is able to listen to them so he can understand the genre. And there's a reason why. I said that rap music is a LP based form starting from 86, 87, 88, 89 on, right? Are you aware that the overwhelming majority of classic rap tapes that were released between 1985 and I say 1989, by the time you get to a 1992, 93, 94, the overwhelming majority of those tapes or those albums are already out of print. If you want a copy of Skinny Boy's Waitlist from 86, good fucking luck. Okay? You want Mantronics the album? Good luck. You're looking for a copy of Girls I Got 'Em Locked by Super Lover C. Casanova Rudd? Who knows if you can find it? You most likely won't be able to find a copy of Chill Rob G. Ride the Rhythm in the early 90s because it was already out of print. They went back into print on Wild Pitch in 94 when they realized, oh, people complaining that they don't have access to these classic albums. And like I said before, this genre has micro generations, new people coming in every 3 to 5 years, leaving every 3 to 5 years. So what do I mean by that? Starting 1979. The cutoffs are 79, 82, 85, 88, 91, 94, 97. Come and go, come and go, come and go. So that means you came in 82, you have no idea what the fuck happened between 79, 80, 81. You came in 85, you have no idea what the fuck happened 84 up. 88, so you have no idea what happened 87 up. 91, you have no idea what happened 90 up. 1994, you have no idea what happened 93 up. 1997, you have no idea what happened 96 up. So you missed the entire changeover from the songs and the stuff that was on the radio that isn't on the radio now. So nobody can hold me down. Puffy and them, that's your entry point. You have no idea that Wu-Tang is having trouble getting on the radio when they ran the radio before. On the other side, 79, 84, 89, 94, 99. What does that mean? You came in 79, you're just here for the beginning. You came in 84, you have no idea what happened 83 up. 89, 88 up. 94, 93 up. 99, 98 up. I need you to realize that because there are people that write now, people that make content now that fit one of these categories. They were not around for the shit that happened before and didn't have an entry point, and they have to blindly figure out what happened before that thing that they saw that brought them in. When they saw Lauryn Hill as a kid, they were like, oh, I'm going to pay attention to this now. It existed before them, but they didn't notice until right then. Okay? This is how this shit happens. Meanwhile, I'm a kid who hears the B-side of You're My Candy Sweet, which is Fatback Band, King Tim III, and I'm like, oh, but I had already heard tapes from New York sent by my cousins in the tri-state area where I heard rap, I heard battles. I heard, I didn't know who the hell who was who, but I heard this shit before. And then when the first rap records start coming out, I'm as a kid there seeing when our upstairs neighbors, James and Derek, are buying the new records from Skippy Whites and Strawberries and the Nubian Ocean. Yes, Boston was a place where you can go to multiple record stores and get rap albums on independent labels. And also we had multiple radio stations that played rap from 79 on. A lot of people don't realize that. Why the fuck do you think I'm here? It's not magic. But this is why. Because in these early days, there's no idea. There's no way to fathom the idea of a 30-year-old MC. Then later, a 40-year-old MC. Because the people that came in weren't around for 20 years and didn't know you can have a full career. So they can't possibly comprehend the idea of a master ace. They can't possibly comprehend the idea of a Black Thought. somebody making great rap music at 40. Because when you're in your 20s, you can't think that far ahead. And you don't know anything that happened before. It's by design. Okay? It's a feature. It's not a mistake. It's by design. However, on the rock side, they make sure that albums like Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, never out of print, always on the charts. The Eagles' greatest hits, always on the charts. Leonard Skinner, Def Leppard, always out. Always out. There are songs the Gen Xers know by heart, and we never owned the album. That is by design, because the white music establishment has made it so that this doesn't ever stop being relevant. Black music didn't get that same protection. And it's time that we acknowledge that and stop acting like it's some magical reason we don't know it and it's our fault. No, the fuck it isn't. It's by design. Call it what it is. It's too damn hot for me to be this damn frustrated.